right. Analytics. And almost, nope, everybody's there. All right, as soon as we hit 7:30, we'll get started. Did I unmute? I did. Okay.
Is Mr. Hankinson here?
Yeah, he's the phone number up there.
Oh.
But you see what I mean when I'm doing this, but I'm looking up there.
Oh, I
My
do.
screen looks
I
like
do.
I'm
I
not.
see that, yeah.
Are you getting the glitches worked out, Brad?
We are actually, there haven't really been any.
Good.
A couple ideas to improve things. So, but going,
Glitch wise, it's
yeah. And these new microphones are great.
Good.
You can whisper and it picks it up.
Yes.
Well, that can be a bad thing. If you're cussing under your breath, so.
That is true. But all right, well, I have 7:30, so we will call this meeting, July 12th council meeting, to order, and ask everyone to join me in a opening prayer and a pledge. Our Father, who art in heaven,
Hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Give us our trespasses.
We forgive those who
trespass
trespass
against
against
us.
us. Lead us not into
temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the
power.
kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First note we will make on this is when everyone on the screen is also joining in the prayer and pledge, we probably need to mute the TV. It was a little awkward here. But we will do roll call.
Mr. Cosgrave,
Present.
Mr. Foreman,
Present.
Mr. Hamilton,
Present.
Mr. Hankinson,
Present.
Mr. Keller,
Present.
Ms. McCreary.
Present.
All right, everyone's present. First agenda item is approval of the minutes from the June 28th meeting.
I looked them over. Everything looked in order to me. I'd make a motion. We approve them as written.
And Mayor, I'd like to second that. I also looked over the minutes and they look accurate.
Good deal. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, roll call.
Mr. Cosgrave,
Yes.
Mr. Foreman,
Yes.
Mr. Hamilton,
Yes.
Mr. Hankinson,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
Ms. McCreary,
Yes.
Randy.
All right. Minutes will be approved as written. Next is the agenda. We do have one amendment. At the last meeting, we tabled ordinance 2021-15. So we just need to amend the agenda to include the tabled ordinance 2021-15.
Mayor, also, I noticed that the council adopted ordinance 2021-17 at the last council meeting.
You're right. On second reading, I have that as that we passed at the last meeting. I was going to leave it if we didn't have another amendment, but we can strike that one.
Okay.
Because that one, 2021-17 was passed.
Okay.
And those were the only amendments I was aware of.
Okay, Mayor, I move that we adopt or approve the amendment of the agenda tonight as adopted
All right.
or as amended.
As amended.
Excuse me, as amended.
Foreman
seconds.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Mr. Cosgrave,
Yes.
Mr. Foreman,
Yes.
Mr. Hamilton,
Yes.
Mr. Hankinson.
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
Ms. McCreary,
Yes.
All right, agenda is approved. Next item is visitors. I don't see any on the call, so no visitors at this time. So we'll move on to village administration reports. I'll try to be quick. Just two quick updates on American Recovery Funds. That's the Senate Bill 111 that passed the House that took some of our money from the feds and distributed it to the townships. The House amended it. I haven't seen it go to conference, but I don't know if it got picked up in a larger budget bill that was then subsequently passed and we are not getting as much as we thought, or if it's kind of just stalling around and something's going to happen on it soon. I haven't seen anything from Carrie at the county on it, and Terry's shaking her head that she hasn't either. I know they were going to try to run that through regional planning, but they didn't say anything at the last meeting about it. So I'm guessing that's kind of in a stall phase at the moment. The other one that I mentioned at the last meeting was House Bill 168, which was where they added $250 million in for water and sewer infrastructure programmings. And that I wasn't sure if that would apply to us or not because it goes through the county engineer and usually those programs are only for townships. But Senator Schaefer's office got back with me and confirmed that municipalities are specifically included in that money, even though it's the county engineer that it runs through. Terry followed up with Carrie at the county and they were not aware of it. And our engineer is on vacation. So Terry and the crew are going to basically put together a project plan like if we were doing a grant and send it to them. And then we'll do a cover letter that it's pursuant to this bill that we're sending it and ask them to forward it on. Because I believe it was 60 days after the passage of that bill. So we're probably already down to 45 days or so until so it'll be a time crunch, but they're working on a project for it. Those were all of my updates for now. I wanted to keep it short in case we were having technical issues, which I should say, we have not had any yet. Mr. Little and I met last weekend here, worked a lot of it out. And so far tonight's been really, really smooth. And with that, if no one has questions, I'll give it over to Terry.
thanks, Mayor. I'll give you some updates on the OPWC projects that I know. We are going to a new online system, our OPWC is, which means all of the documents and everything are all electronic, no more paper copies. I think they have a couple of glitches still to work out because I approved and signed the Waterloo project twice and the Park Drive project once. So that at least gets us started to go out to bid. B3 will be in the village tomorrow to go through a couple of things with Tim, because if you remember at the same time, we're going to bid out all of our street projects. So we're almost ready to go to bid. Mike thinks that we can go to bid and have the bids back and be ready to go by end of August. So so that everything's looking good there. Suez will be on site at the wastewater treatment plant on August 9th. They'll be running through some of the items. They have a couple of tasks that's connected to the membrane and et cetera. This will also give our new operator, Jason Conrad, a chance to meet that vendor. Going along with that, tomorrow we're going to have an introduction meeting, so to speak, with the B3 and the mill and the personnel at the wastewater treatment plant. I don't know if I told you this before, but Jason Conrad, who is our new class 3 operator, used to work at the mill. So that is going to be a plus for us also. As far as the water line, part of the project for the repaving or improvement of Park Avenue is to have a water line put in there on Johnson. That the team has been working on this week. They feel that weather permitting, and I see we have some showers coming into play, so I'm not quite sure how that's going to impact them. We should have that line in and covered up by this week, so we can do pressure testing and run samples so that next week he can. I think there are 3 connections we'll need to make. So we're moving along really well. So that portion of what we needed to get done for the Park Avenue improvements, OPWC is finished. Then we will move on to the Maple water line, which will be a little more cumbersome and have a lot more time spent in doing that. So like I said, that'll be our second water line for the year. Our I&I report has been submitted to the EPA. If you remember, that was a requirement of our MPDES permit to help us reduce our wet weather overflows. So the next step on that project is the public communication, which leads me into the next item I want to talk about. Mayor, if you could throw up our new website. I sent out to all of you a link that will take you to the new proposed website that has been designed for us.
Hold on. Just a second.
That's all right. I'll keep talking. So one of the things that is going to happen with this website that you don't see there now, but will be a part of it, and that is payment online of water bills. It will be linked to our new iWork zoning and coding software. And that also, they can also pay their applications there. The nice thing about it is that this will allow us to go paperless with all of our zoning applications. Instead of passing back and forth all of the paper, we still will have to have the sign that will go into their window, but I think that can be easily printed by the applicant. So these are all really good changes coming soon with a really good website once we get that link going. Mayor's working on it.
Yep, I'm still going through. There's a lot of pages in there. Not as many as there used to be, but.
But can you bring it up so they can see the homepage?
They're seeing it. Are you guys seeing it?
Yeah, I look at it all day today. Looks good. My only question is, my neighbor asked me about how do you get on the website? So what is the new website she had to log into? Is it DEVOH building?
No. This is just for us for testing and updating the content. The URL will remain the same.
It'll remain the same.
Okay.
And we'll do a switch once we approve it. But I think we're about ready to switch. I mean, I know we're going to have to do some improvements down the line, but we need to get started because this new website will allow us to do that education for the I&I. It's going to be more user friendly, and it'll also be tied to our water billing software also. So take a look at it. If you think of anything you'd like to see or something you don't see, let me know, because I'm about ready to say let's go live. And then, like the mayor says, the URL will be the same. The last thing I wanted to bring up is about the American Rescue Plan. Last week we had a training with the budget office to show us how we have to apply for the money, and we have to apply for the money. They hit home very hard that they want these to be projects and not a couple thousand here, a couple thousand there. So they're not even going to entertain small projects. So they are looking for larger projects. So all of that, there's a lot of detail to that website. Brian wasn't here for that training because he's on vacation, but he will have to get into the training because that's where he will load and upload all of his reports. So we're getting serious about all of that now. So as far as getting the money to get our projects done. So that is all I have, unless there's something I missed you'd like to have an update on.
Anybody have any questions for Terry?
Barry, did Tim get a hold of you about that piece of equipment at the Johnston Park that broke, the kid broke?
Yes, those, we are ordering those. Barb is on that. As you know, this is Barb's first week back in the office. So that's one of her tasks I've asked her to do was order some of those. So yes.
Yeah, that piece that the kids talk into, yeah, someone broke that off.
Oh,
I mean, it's laying there on the ground, so.
all right, but it sounds like it's getting ordered, so
Well, we'll fix it the best we can. We're also gonna replace all the swings over there.
cool.
Yeah, I gotta say, there was a couple of them looks kind of bad too.
Yes.
All right. Any other questions for Terry? If not, we'll move on. Brian is on vacation this week. I think he was headed to Florida. So we will move on to Jeff.
Okay, briefly, no first readings, no second readings, third reading on resolution 2021-16, which does need to be passed tonight. That does need to be delivered to the county auditor before July 20th. When is Brian due back? Do we know?
That's a good question because the 20th is next Tuesday.
He will be back to deliver that.
He will be.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Just want to make certain of that. I'll drop the original off once it's passed this evening. I'll drop the original off tomorrow at the village. That's all I have.
Hey, Jeff, on the tabled ordinance, do we have any, have you heard anything on that?
Yeah, I forgot about that. I'm going to recommend that it remain tabled. I've heard nothing from Village Thurston's solicitor. So I'm going to recommend that it remain tabled until we hear something. So,
All right.
and that's all I have.
All right. Thank you. We'll move on to finance, which because Brian was off tonight, did not meet. So
Mayor, the next meeting, like you said, Brian wasn't here. So our next meeting is a month away, be August the 9th.
August the 9th. That's what I was looking for, was the date. All right. Service.
We haven't met since the last meeting, so our next meeting is going to be the fourth Monday of the month on the 26th.
All right. And safety.
Our next meeting is right after service, the 26th.
All right. And rules.
August the 9th at 6:45.
All right. I think pretty much everybody was on tonight's rules, so we will move on. Public safety reports. Chief.
Thanks, Mayor. We just cut loose one of the new guys tonight, so that gives us more patrol coverage. He's one of our auxiliary officers. He's doing a real good job for us. We have another that's really close to being out on his own, so that's coming along good. We have two more applicants, reserve applicants in the pipe. We're working to get those through the background to see whether or not they're going to be able to join us or not. We are putting together the schedule for the festival, which is coming up quicker than most of us probably like to think. Part of that again is the the road race and things associated with that, security on site. I've arranged for the command vehicle, the EMA command vehicle, to be brought up. It probably will not be here till Friday night because it's at another assignment Friday during the day, but that'll give us somewhere that we can set up. We've ordered in different things for community outreach. We have junior police badges, and we have numerous bicycle helmets. So we're going to try to see if we can't get those bicycle helmets out in the community, along with Dairy Queen was kind enough to give us a packet, several packets of flyers, I guess you would call them, certificates. So when a kid gets a helmet and promises to wear it, you give them one of those and they can go out to the Dairy Queen and get a free ice cream cone. So that's always a nice incentive for them to have. car 3, we've been having, as you guys know, that car is long in the tooth. We continuously have air conditioning problems with it. When you have the ballistic vest on in this kind of weather, it's pretty miserable. We looked into getting that repaired, but the repair bill is over $1,100, and bluntly, I don't know that the car is worth $1,100. So we're going to try to stretch things and suffer through with the 2 other cars. Use that car in the evening hours as needed when the sun goes down, that sort of thing, or use it for directing traffic, something along that line. We upgraded the computers, MDTs in the cars to Windows 10. We have that completed today. That was a mandate by the state of Ohio. It looked like it was going to be quite expensive to get that done, but one of our officers who does computer work, has a small side business that does that, volunteered to do that for us for no cost. So we were able to get that and save quite a bit of money from that. So that helped out a lot. And I'm glad to say I was off last week on vacation. I want you all to know how much I missed you. But other than that, that's all I've got tonight.
All right. Anybody got any questions for the chief?
Chief, you say those Windows 10 is on all your computers now?
Yeah, it is now. What happened is the state came back and they're going to update the MDT programs that are sent to, it's the dispatching side of it is what it is. So we're dispatched through the county and we get all of our cars by computer, so they don't have to put them over the radio. Without that upgrade, they would not be able to keep us on their system. So we wouldn't be able to run license tags. We wouldn't be able to do anything with the computer without doing that.
Well, I'm glad you got it done.
All right. Any other questions for the chief? All right, we'll move on to fire district.
Okay, our next meeting is this Thursday, the 15th at 6:30 on station 610.
All right. Any questions for fire district? All right. Moving on, planning and zoning. Last week on July 8th, we had public hearings on 2 proposed zoning code changes. One of them on lot coverage and the other on short-term rental registrations. The lot coverage one, the hearings themselves lasted about 2 hours. Was held in the Opera House and online. Had a number of people show up. On the lot coverage side of the public hearing, the arguments ranged from there should be no regulations and people should be able to cover as much of their lot as they want to what the current proposal was just a little too restrictive and the percentage should come up a little bit. On the short-term rental side, I guess the arguments were kind of the same from there should be no regulation of short-term rentals to if there is regulations, some of the things that have been proposed, specifically a background check is coming to mind right now, is a little onerous and not needed. It was the hearings on YouTube. If you guys want to watch it, it was a good hearing. Afterwards, the Planning Commission, noted to me that it was good to be able to hear from everybody. And they will meet in August to consider all of that public input for their next steps. Basically, they can, based on the input, decide to go ahead and pass what was proposed. They can change it and then pass it, or they can scrap it altogether. If they change it and pass it or pass it as proposed, it would then just come to council in the form of an ordinance, and council would have 3 readings on it and a public hearing on it as well. But I do know from talking to the commission members that at the next meeting in August, I know they will be discussing some of the stuff that was brought up on both the lot coverage side and on the short-term rental side. One other thing that did come out of the short-term rental discussion is there were a number of people that brought up the idea they weren't sure why we were doing it with short-term rentals when we have problems with regular rental properties, and why weren't we focusing on them? I think everybody except for Brandy was on council in 19 when I had brought forth an ordinance to do a long-term rental registration program. That did not pass, but after hearing public support for that type of program, I will probably be bringing that back to safety, I think is where we had it before, for consideration. A lot of people, when they learned a little bit about it as well, did not like the yearly inspection portion of it. So that is something that maybe we look at getting the program running first, and don't tackle everything at once and remove interior inspections at the start of it and see how it goes. But it did seem to get some support. I think people were asking why we didn't have those. So I'm at least taking that as a sign of people are supportive of us doing something to help some of the wayward landlords we have. So we'll do that. But the next planning and zoning meeting will be August 12th. It'll probably be in person, but I don't know if public will be in or if public will be on Zoom yet because of the space. I guess I could have covered that in my portion, but I'll hit that in new business when we get down there. But for now, any questions on planning and zoning?
Yeah, I had a question.
Yeah.
I know where the short-term rental origins are. I was just curious as to where this percentage of lot coverage discussion came from. It kind of came out of left field. I didn't know what brought this up. The disparity between the areas where we have a serious stormwater water problem out in the Holder Road area and the existing city lots limitations is just dramatic. It's outrageous almost. Right. I'm just wondering what brought this to where did this come from?
It came from some members concerned for water and stormwater runoff and stuff like that. But there is a home over on Washington by the high school that, as Terry puts it, is trying to build a castle on a postage stamp. They've got a house, they've got a detached garage, I think already, or a house, a patio, a shed, an add-on porch, a pool, and now they want to build something else, which would almost completely cover their yard. And so that it started to become a lot. And so it was brought to the attention of the planning commission who is in charge of, continually reviewing the zoning code. And that is something they wanted to look at. And then after discussion, decided that there should be some restrictions on there, especially because we have them in other areas. So
you're saying it far exceeds the 40% that they're recommending now already, where when I look at almost everybody in this meeting's lots, we're nearing that limit. And it just kind of causes me pause. I didn't have to move on to this small city lot. I can go back out on 2 acres and build 26,000 square feet of impervious surface instead of being restricted to the 4,000 plus or minus that I am now. So I get it. We already have setbacks. We already have a lot of restrictions. This would require that putting down gravel would need a permit because that's impervious. Pouring a patio would need a permit because that's impervious. Pouring a sidewalk would need a permit because that's impervious. So you wouldn't be able to do anything on your lot that adds more impervious surface without a permit,
Well,
other than mulch or grass. So it's very
well, and I don't know.
targeted towards small lots.
I, in some of it, I don't know that you need a permit to put new gravel down on your lot. If you're
Well, you would
building,
have to because it could exceed your impervious.
if you're expanding your driveway, yes.
Yeah.
But if you're
But-
just, if you're putting new gravel down on your new lot, you're not expanding it.
Right. And,
So-
and even we've talked about pools a lot in it too. And if pools are included, then by nature, ponds are also included, right?
And that was something that came
That
up
was
as
something
well.
else that came up.
Yeah, because I mean, if pond was not impervious, it wouldn't be a pond. It would be a dry hole.
Right.
So I'm just not at all. I'm not at all inclined to go with this. I just, it hasn't come to council yet, so it doesn't matter yet. So we'll leave it in planning and zoning and I'll shut up.
Rick, I'll say one thing. I have a property in Florida. I know that's in Florida. They have it down there and you got to have so much percentage and stuff. So, it's not just here in Baltimore. It's going to
I
be.
get that. I know it's
gonna be
not. I know it's not. But just
It's
because that
nothing new.
municipality jumped off a cliff doesn't mean we have to too.
Well,
So
Yeah. I'm
I
just saying, it's nothing new.
I get it.
I don't think the jumping off a cliff analogy is an appropriate one. Most places have land use regulations like this to help maintain green space, help control groundwater, and so that someone doesn't pave their entire lot. Most places around here have them. We don't. So it's not, jumping off a cliff, we got to follow suit. It's more of, we probably should have had them. And I think a lot of the hesitation comes from, hey, here's a new rule. And most people follow it anyway, because most people don't want to completely cover their lot.
Yeah, and it also doesn't.
But
When you're talking about the percentage of coverage, you're also not drawing a picture of an existing in-town lot that's say 74 by 180 or whatever, and put the setbacks on and showing how much is already unbuildable. So we're talking about percentage, but we're doing it in the context of not showing how much of it you already cannot build a shed or a pool or a deck. Already, you can't, how much of it's already been rendered unbuildable. So we're talking about this, but we're not looking at that. And so a large percentage of these small in-town lots are already unbuildable. The other thing is the best possible outcome we could have on some of these really dilapidated, really should be torn down houses is that all of a sudden it makes more sense for me to buy that shack and tear it down and build a really nice house on that lot instead of, buying a 2-acre lot on the edge of town. I can have a nice house in town on a small lot. But if we become too restrictive, all of a sudden, that's not a good option either. It's almost like the houses on, is it Hawthorne are a good example. They're two very large ranch houses that were built recently. They have very large driveways. And had this been in place, there's a very good chance those houses would not or could not have been built. And when we rewrote the zoning code, that was the only thing that allowed those houses to be built without a variance. And they would not buy those lots until they were able to build those houses without a variance. So you could get some really nice houses replacing some of these really bad houses if we don't make if we allow these people to build the house they want on these small in-town lots. They want nice ranch houses on small lots. It's as close as we have to a condominium. I mean, that's why I moved where I live. I don't want a big yard. I don't need it.
And just so that everyone knows, so one of the proposals on like an R3, which has minimum square footage of 6,500 square feet, so a very small lot. One of the I think right now the proposal was at 40%, but it sounded like the commission was leaning towards at least 50%. So on a 6,500 square foot lot at 50%, that allows you 3,250 feet of coverage. That's a pretty big house on a very small lot.
Wait, though, that's impervious surface. That includes the driveway, the sidewalk, the patio, the pool, the outbuilding, the shed, the front sidewalk that we require if it's not in the easement. So when you say that 3,000 square feet, that could be a 1,500 square foot with a nice driveway and a patio.
But it's a lot of lot coverage is the point.
But there are very few that small either. Probably
So
not.
even more. So, all right. Any other questions? All right, tree commission.
Tree commission met on Thursday night. I was unable to attend because of the planning and zoning hearings. So I will get the minutes and report out at the next meeting.
All right. Records commission, we got to have another meeting sometime this year. Brian's working on some records he needs us to destroy. So we'll let you know when we have a meeting. All right. Motions, resolutions, ordinances. Any motions? Hearing none. There's no first readings. The second reading on our agenda was passed at the last meeting and stricken. So third reading, resolution 2021-16, a resolution to adopt the 2022 tax budget and the declaration of an emergency. Sponsor is Keller.
Okay, Mayor, we had the public hearing tonight, which nobody showed up. So at this time, I will move that we adopt ordinance 2021-16.
All right. Second.
I'll second that, Mayor.
Thank you. Discussion on 2021-16. Hearing none, roll call.
Mr. Cosgrave,
Yes.
Mr. Foreman,
Yes.
Mr. Hamilton,
Yes.
Mr. Hankinson,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
Ms. McCreary.
You're muted, Brandy.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, 6-0, resolution 2021-16 will be adopted. Tabled ordinances. There's a recommendation to leave it tabled. Sponsor on that one is Hamilton. Mike, we gonna leave that one tabled?
Yes, sir.
All right. So we will move on to old business. Does anybody have any old business? Hearing none. We'll go on to new business, and I'll bring up in-person meetings. So the IT's working out. The TV up here is working out and sounds well. Terry's on the other side of the room and picking up just from my computer microphone, so it seems to be working well. There's new tables on the way for here, so they'll be here by the next meeting anyway. So I think we will be good to meet in person at the next meeting, with the caveat of we will be in person, but because of our seating, we could only fit, if we stay with the CDC guidelines of distance, we could probably only fit 3 people if they showed up here from the public, at which point, again, sometimes only 1 or 2 only show up, but I don't want to have multiple people show up and turn them away. So what we will do is we'll return to in-person, and we will continue the broadcasting of the meeting on Zoom so that the public and streaming it so that they have the opportunity to observe, and then on Zoom be able to provide visitor input until we can get back to a full capacity type situation. The other thing why we do it is at the meetings, Terry will do them from home, and while we get it going, Jeff, if you want to hang out and Zoom in as well for a while, or if you want to come in, that either's fine with me. I just know that as council, we have to get back to in person. So Any questions on that? And Chief, you could join us in person or on Zoom as well.
Okay.
Because while it's closed to the public, I mean, obviously, no one's ever really caused problems, but there's always an officer at a public meeting. But as long as it's closed to the public, I don't see the need to have anyone police here. So if you want to join us in person, more than welcome to. Or if you want to Zoom in from your office there, either's fine.
Alrighty.
Mayor, if I may.
Yeah.
There was something that was brought up the other night after the P&Z meeting. And I'm muted, sorry.
You're good now.
Sorry. The other night, there was a suggestion that was made after the P&Z meeting. And I'm wondering if there's any way that the dates of council meetings could be put on the utility bills, on the water bills.
We could probably do a reminder.
I mean, even if you said the first, second and fourth, you know, Mondays, that would probably stand as a reminder.
Yeah, we could do a reminder. I don't know that because we use it for little messages
Yes,
and
we
reminders every now and then anyway, but if we don't have one in the July billing, which will go out at the 1st of August.
Right.
I mean, it could even just start after that, but I thought it was a fair comment and suggestion.
Yeah.
I just thought I'd bring it to council to see what you thought.
Yeah, no, it's a good one. We can throw it up there on the utility bill.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
As long as we're doing it still Zoom too, we could probably.
I think it's too long.
Is
I
it
only
too
have
long?
a little tiny box that I can put a message in. So the messages you see on the bills currently are about as big as I can get.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe, but we can get a reminder up there, or maybe
Yes.
point them to a page on the website or something
Yes.
that has the
Sure.
meetings and so. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
I got a couple of things.
All right. Terry's got a couple of things, but does anybody in council have anything at the moment? All right.
So I'm gonna make mine fast. So I did get an email tonight, or today or this afternoon from the Baltimore Festival group. Looks like they're gonna start setting up the stage on noon on August 1st. The trailer will be arriving on July 31st, so it'll be the next day that they do it. And they'll be tearing down on Sunday after the festival. So Mr. Hamilton, not our Mr. Hamilton, but Shane just sent this out as a notice. Also, one more thing I wanted to point out is that I know that we just passed the 2022 budget, but I want you to also be aware that Joey just sent me a text at the beginning of this meeting that his supplier of chlorine just sent him an alert that chlorine is going to hit $2.30 a gallon. Right now we're paying $1.34. So why we did pass that budget tonight, it looks like, and that was just,
This is a liar's budget.
yeah, but be aware that our expenses are really going up, and that's $1 a gallon increase. So just to let you know. I hate ending on that note, but
Just out of curiosity, how many gallons of chlorine do we go through in a year?
really, Mayor, I'm not sure. I have to check that out, but I will let you know that at the next meeting.
I have a question. Is there an alternate, like a bromine solution that can be used in the industry?
Now, these are all dictated by EPA for what we use them for. So I don't think we can substitute. I know we can't substitute. Those are pretty much edicts, I think. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So I guess to answer your question, Mr. Cosgrave, no. So, but I'm sure that if there's a way, we will know about it pretty quick because others will be out there looking. Ohio Rural Water really keeps us updated on that. So I'll, if something comes out, I'll be able to share it with you.
All right.
So if we want to end on a positive note,
Yeah.
Barb is back in the office. she forgot how much fun she had and she missed everyone. So, we're glad to have her back. Her plate is
Yes.
full already. So, moving forward.
All right. Any other new business?
Mayor, I just need to talk to Terry before she runs off.
All right. We'll do that after we get out of the meeting here.
Right.
I'm looking. I don't see any visitors on there. But before we adjourn, I do want to thank Mr. Little for joining us tonight. He's been sitting over here we tested stuff out last week, but just in case something happened today while we're in here, he's been sitting here through the meeting with us. So I appreciate you coming in.
Having fun.
Yes. All right. With that, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Heller.
Foreman seconds.
Foreman seconds. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Unanimous voice vote 6-0. We are adjourned at 8:15. So,
Good night, everyone.
everyone.
Good night.
Right, thank you.
Have a good one.
Good night.